Good day. Nick from Vulcan Gun Refinishing here. We've got yet another 1911 A1 in the shop today. We're getting an awful lot of these. This one's from not too far away from here, Thamesville. Gregg in Thamesville. Thanks, Gregg. Appreciate the business. This is in for a general rebuild, repark, recondition, go over it, see whatever's wrong with it. I've run that serial number, and it's showing me that it's a 1945 Colt based on that serial number right there. So now one thing we see immediately right off the bat is that it's a Colt, but it's got a Remington Rand slide on it, which is completely wrong. And besides the fact that it's the wrong slide, it's a fairly butchered up slide. They've enlarged that ejection port. You can see how far down they've cut that ejection port. They've eliminated they opened up the back end of the port. There should be a fairly sharp little corner right here, and there's almost no corner left right there. You can see that little edge. You can even see the part of the edge of the barrel in here. So they've moved this ejection port way back, and they've lowered it. That ejection port should just end just below that line right there, and you see it's way below that line. So they made some kind of, I don't know, target gun or something. I don't know why they. Too many bubbas in the world. So we're going to be getting rid of that slide right away. We'll find them a nice Colt, World War II Colt slide. But in the meantime, I want to have a quick look at this and just see what else we've got that we can prepare ourselves for. I say it just arrived, so I haven't had a chance to review it too carefully. But if we go over it, quickly, like I say, we're just going to avoid the slide altogether. We're not going to waste any time on that. All right. So as I was saying, the phone never stops ringing around here anymore. But anyway, we're going to look at these separate parts, and now I'm going to have to make a determination too. I'll review it and see if they are the right parts. So the first thing we notice is we've got a checkered slide stop, but I'm thinking it's the early style. It looks like the early style slide stop with the extra bit of machining done underneath here. Most of the later slide stops they don't have that extra little step in them, so I'm assuming that's an early one. Anyway, that's checkered. We've got a checkered safety, which at first glance doesn't look too bad. We've got a checkered hammer, which it's got a little bit of wear on it, but nothing too horrible. It's got a serrated mainspring housing, so if all the other parts are checkered, and if they should be checkered, like I say, I haven't had a chance to review yet, but if they should be checkered, then obviously that mainspring housing will have to be replaced. And the hammer is a checkered hammer. So being 45, it's hard to say. I mean, they were pretty much switching over to serrated parts by 45, but I'll review that a little bit closer and see what we can figure out. It appears to have the proper Colt grips with the large reinforcing rings around the screws. Once again, I'm no expert on 1911 A1s, but I'm learning as I'm going. But you can see a fair amount of flattening in the checkering right in there. That's fairly damaged right there. As I move it, you can see how that plastic's been all beat. So that grip might want to be replaced. All depends on the customer. Just giving him a quick review right now just to see. We got a little bit more, not real bad, but we got a little bit more. Oh, I see right there too. That grip is busted, broken right there around the plunger tube. The grip is actually broken. So, pretty sure we're going to be getting another set of grips for this thing. If you're going to go this far, may as well do the grips. As far as the frame itself, the biggest issue with this frame is right there. Bubba came in with his drill and mounted a couple of, mounted a laser sight or something. I don't know what he thought he was doing, but anyway, so we got that damage there. We'll have to have the holes welded shut. And a little bit of damage there. When I move it, you can see a flat spot. There's a flat spot in the metal right in here. So that's going to have to be reviewed. And then there's some kind of another little issue right there. Looks like they, I don't know, they might have added a little weld and then they drilled into it or something. I don't know. Who knows what they're thinking. But one thing we can see that's quite evident is how, also, there's another little area that they've gone in with a drill bit and made a little dimple in there for some reason. Who knows what they were thinking. But the big thing that I'm seeing from my experience, I've got all my warning bells going off, and I'm hoping that we can get a good sharp shot of that. Let me see if I can really move in slow and get that camera to keep up with us. You can start to see the crustiness. If you can really look close, you can see that metal. When I bead blast that, I can see with my eye all that rust. Can you see all that rust on that surface? I mean, it looks brown, but if you look close, you can see how bumpy. That's all surface rust. It's like a brake drum on a car. We just haven't hit it with a hammer yet. But once I bead blast that, I can guarantee we're going to have pitting in there. That just has that classic, well, I know all the experts call it patina, but it's really not patina, it's rust. So we're going to clean that up, begin to bead blast that. You can see definitely that that's going to open up. We're going to have a million little craters in there by the time I'm done bead blasting that. I mean, it's not going to be super deep, but it's going to have to be addressed. So along the edge of the trigger guard, you can see some corrosion there. Might even possibly need a little build up of the weld there. That's kind of eaten away. A few other dings and dents and bits of damage along that edge there. You can see all that stuff in there. So you can't really fix that. That's just a little bit too severe. You might need weld, I'm not sure. You don't have a lot of meat to play with sometimes on these trigger guards because you got to maintain a certain look to them. They got to have a flat side and nice sharp edges. So got some inspectors or machinist markings up on the trigger guard there. Got that right there. There's another little tiny symbol that's very hard to see, but something right there. So I have to be really careful when I file in here. If I file in here, I'll be very gentle. But we want to come along down the side here and flatten all this up, square that up nice with the file, and like I say, that damage along the edge might have to be built up a little bit, and a little bit more right there. So the cutout is, it's not looking mint. I mean, I don't know how far the customer wants to go on this thing, but we can certainly clean it up. We've got some corrosion there by that 3, just below that 3. And also you see the other bits of damage. Now, the U.S. Army, 1911A1 U.S. Army, is not very deep to begin with, especially the R and the M. They're not very deep. And depending on how much metal repair I have to do, you can obviously see all the little marks and dings along that edge. That's so typical for these. And so, normally speaking, we file all that just to bring them edges back. You can see all the corrosion there. Let's see if I can get a good shot of that again. Move up nice and close, slow. Get that camera a chance to keep up. But you can see, as I turn that, you can see all that corrosion in there. Like I say, I'm going to get a good shot of that. Just having a little bit of problems again, as usual, with Mr. Finicky camera. There we go. So now if I can come in nice and slow, you might be able to see what I'm talking about there. Yeah, there. You can see all that rust. Look at all that rust in there on that dust cover. That's all pitted. You can see just how bad that is. So not only are we going to have those holes to deal with, but we'll have all that pitting we're going to have to file out of there, because that's going to look terrible. And this isn't even bead blasted yet, so that's going to be significantly worse once that's opened up. So we're unsure now, on the lettering. We don't know how much of that we can save. You can see the cross cannon cartouche is still reasonably prominent. They're never perfect anyway. There's some issue. They never could stamp them quite right. I've never seen one yet that was perfect. They're always weak on one side or the other. And you can see along the edge of the frame there, you can see there you can see some terrible machining where they machined it and it's got a bunch of little steps in it. So, and you know, there's other typical damage along that edge there, along that line. So that would all be, you can see all the slight pitting. You can see all the pitting along right in here. So that's all going to be cleaned up and refiled just to get that edge nice and crisp again. We've got a little bit of corrosion and damage down around that pin there. That's going to have to be cleaned up. So, so we see now, you know, we've got a few issues. And once again, you can see all that rust in there. That whole grip strap area is just solid rust. So that's going to just explode when we bead blast that. It's definitely going to need some filing in there. The other side, we've got the inspector's mark, but it's not, you know, right from day one. You can see where they didn't get the top of it very good. The top of the G and the top of the what's that, an H? Yeah, it's an H and then a D. They're all pretty weak. The P isn't looking too bad. That's pretty decent, yeah. So, but then you got, you know, little bits of damage and odds and ends around there. Got your typical newbie scratch from the slide stop. So, and another inspector's, get a good shot of that. Another inspector's mark up on the trigger guard there. So, this, you know, the dust cover on the left side of them holes is not quite as crusty. You can still see there's some issues there. That's going to have to be cleaned up a bit. But oh, there you can see that symbol now. That symbol's coming into focus a little bit better on the edge of that trigger guard right there. You can see that little symbol. So we have to be careful to save all that in our filing process. So the yeah, we talked about that slide stop being that it might be an earlier version. Plus, I also see a little bit of, when I move it in the light, I can see a little bit of damage in it right here. You can see a little bit of something going on. But like I say, I'm pretty sure that's the wrong slide stop anyway. It's an early style, so we're probably going to be changing that. The plunger tube, it's yeah, it's got its share of problems and issues, so we might be changing that too. Safety's looking pretty good. You know, it might need a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of detail, but I think it's the right one anyway. Grip safety, that sure looks like a seamed one to me. It's in fairly, you know, bad shape. It's kind of rough and beat up, but I'm reasonably sure. And one side too was really crusty looking, yeah. So we're going to be changing that because it, like I say, it sure looks like a seamed one. I'm seeing what looks like a seam right running up the middle of it, so that must be a later grip safety. So we're looking at probably changing the grips right off the bat. We're going to check on these checkered parts to see if they're correct or not. And the frame, we already know now that we're going to have some welding to do there. We've got a fair amount of rust work, pit work that we're going to have to do on that dust cover. You know, trigger guard's going to have to be cleaned up. We might even have to put a little bit of weld on that spot right there. And then the grip strap. Grip strap is going to be, you know, it's going to be crusty once we're done. I mean, it's going to be pitted once we're done bead blasting it, no doubt about that. And we're probably going to even need a little bit of weld. They almost drilled through, not quite, but they drilled a fairly deep dimple right there for whatever reason. So we'll probably have to put a little bit of weld right there. So, and we're going to change the slide. It's going to find him a nice Colt, you know, World War II era slide. So anyway, so that's it for the initial review of this gun. It's you know, it's got the usual typical bits of damage after 70 years of being kicking around, and that's what it's here for us to try and mint it back out and bring her back to her former beauty. So I'm going to go ahead and get a hold of the customer and give him a preliminary idea on what he's up against. If it turns out it's too much work, we may not even do this gun. But all indications are he does want it done. So, but once I give him the price, you know, that changes sometimes. So anyway, I will get in touch with him and we'll see if we can continue moving along on this project. Great.